we are live.
Woo! I don't know if I can handle the pressure. Good to see. I guess be seen by you, Cleaning Nation. For those of you guys joining live, hello. Feel free to say hey in the chat. For those of you listening to the podcast, we do these once a week. If you join the Facebook group for free, you can join live. That's it. Let's, Lindsay, what's the theme? What's some questions? Let's jump in and give some value.
All right, we're back to an oldie but a goodie. I wanted to know, Cleaning Nation, right now, what's the number one thing you are stuck on in your cleaning company?
Love it. If we could do one thing in this podcast is to get you in the videos is to get you guys unstuck. So let's jump in. Who's first?
Yeah, first up, we have Bennett, who emailed in. He said, I'm struggling to improve the percentage of sales we're booking from email leads. That's his number one right now. Any advice, Mike?
Gosh, that's such a good question. I love the specificity, but unfortunately, it brings lots more assumptions. So I'll do the best I can with the information that I have. So the way that we coach is to do a two-part sales process, a 5 to 15 minute kind of pre-call just to make sure it's a good fit before you go out, and then an on-site call. I know a lot of guys, gals don't like doing on-site calls. They just want to give a bit over the phone, but the closing ratio is less, the turnover is higher, the margins are less, setting expectations is less. You know, for if the average client's $400 a month and they stay 2-3 years, that's $10,000-15,000, right? Let's have a salesperson go out or use the owner go out. If it takes you an hour or two, you know, $15,000 of gross sales for an hour and a half ain't bad. So when properly done, the first call, the 10-minute call that qualifies or disqualifies the appointment, should make sure that you're only going on calls with your close rate should be the same from any lead source. So the leads that come to the 10-minute call may convert better or worse from certain lead sources, but the actual sales call should be fine because they've gone through the filter of the first call. So that said, that's the way we would coach, which I think would solve the problem. But because I don't know your situation, Bennett, I'm going to look at it's probably not the email is a fine way to get people. So I don't think the quality email leads is bad. I'd look at the offer that you're making in the email and the call to action. Without that information, I'm guessing the problem is in either the how did they opt in, right? So if it's opt in for a free flat screen TV at a trade show, well, of course, that's a terrible list, and you know, it doesn't matter what you offer, it's going to be tough. If it's opt-in for cleaning or opt-in for cleaning tips or something that someone raises their hand going, they're a good client, and you made them a good offer, bad offer would be $20 off your first clean, right? Because that's going to get people that are looking for a discount, right? Or just a one-time clean thing. The better offer might be new clients that sign up in February, get a bottle of champagne and a date night out with your husband or your loved one. Something where you're giving them more value for the same price. So I would start with your funnel. Like, what's the process? Are you giving bids in person? Are you pre-qualifying those bids with a phone call? B, I would look at how are the people getting onto your email list? And then C, I would look at the offer on the list. What offer are you making them? I'm guessing the problem's somewhere in there and doesn't have a lot to do with the physical medium of email, if that makes sense. But that was a heck of a good question. I'm always jumping up and down, like, give me specifics so I can give you a good answer. That was a very specific question. Bennett, reach out and let us know if that got what you needed, or if you've got, follow-up questions, or more details that would help me give you a better answer.
I have a follow-up question. If you could clarify one thing.
Lindsay's good at the follow-up questions. Generally, ask the stuff that people want me to answer, but I don't answer. So I love your follow-up questions.
Okay. Hopefully I live up to your expectations here. But my question is, for email leads, Mike, do you recommend salespeople get the conversation itself off of email, like ASAP, so they can have an actual conversation like on the phone or in person with them? Is that like better?
1,000%. Whether it's email, direct message, Facebook Messenger. I don't like trying to give a haircut over the phone, right?
Yeah.
So we, at the beginning, I share a cell phone number that is public that comes directly to me. And people, you guys text me, it's great. Say, hey, it's fine. I love helping the best I can. But they'll get into super in-depth coaching. Like, that is just too much over. We're going to have to, for me really to help, we got to have some sort of conversation. So yes, I think email, messenger, DMs, all that stuff is a great way to start a conversation, get a little basic info. And then, yeah, you want to move it to real conversation. Cause again, it could take a week over Instagram back and forth, or you could have a 6 minute conversation. So, yeah, great point. You want to move it off of kind of the I leave a message here, you leave a message there, and we're never at the same time. And I've got to ask and answer quite just like again with Bennett, we've got this one-way conversation. If I could just ask him 2 or 3 questions, I give a much better answer. But the way we're doing it, he could respond back and it could just take forever. So yes, short answer, yes, 1,000 times yes. Great way to start a conversation. But if you really want to help someone, you need a phone, a Zoom, or in person.
Got it. All right. Thanks for clarifying. I don't know if
Good
Bennett had
question.
that question.
You lived up. You did good.
All right. We're going to move on to James from email. I'm going to give a little background on what he said, and then I'll ask the question. James said, gaining new clients, diving into understanding people, buy with emotions, and pain being solved, working on myself to have more confidence and better flow. It's the background. Okay, so now he moves on. I know I can be charismatic and fun and make friends. How do I take that energy and make myself comfortable when talking with a prospective client?
Yeah, I like, first of all, it's almost like if someone calls into a talk show and it's like, my wife and I are pregnant. I want to be a really good husband. We've read all the books and I want to be a good dad. What do I need to do? And it's like the fact that you're asking the question and reading the books shows you're probably going to be a pretty good dad, right? So the fact that you're framing that, James, with, I know I'm not here to hard sell somebody. I just want to make friends and have a good time and really help them solve their problem is a good indicator. Like, how do I do it? Like the fact that you know that that's what you want to do and you have the desire to do it, you're probably 90% of the way there, brother. So I know that's a very unsatisfying answer. So I'll try and do a little better, but I really do want to encourage you. The way you frame that really indicates to me, like if I was looking for a salesperson as a sales manager, I'd be like, that's a good, I want to talk to that guy. So step one, have that frame of what it is I'm trying to do. Step two, I might change the charismatic, fun, and make friends to help people. So a lot of what we teach, and I forget where I got this from somewhere else. I've heard it somewhere. It's a doctor frame. So as opposed to the puppy dog frame of, I love you and this is great. I'm so glad you called and we're going to be great and this is the best. Kind of that puppy dog is not a good leadership frame. Whereas the doctors, hey, get in, get on the scale, take off your clothes. The nurse and I'll be back in. Give me your thing. What's your, what are your parents? What did they die of? How old were they? What do you weigh? Like just a bunch of invasive stuff that's like, here we go. Let's go. And the doctor may not be charismatic or fun, yeah, but when he gives you a prescription, you follow it because he's the doctor, right? So, because his goal isn't to be your friend, his goal is to help you. So his goal is not to sell you something. So the salesperson frame is, and this isn't a good salesperson, but the typically perceived salesperson frame is, this guy's trying to get my wallet. So we certainly don't want to be that. But I think we swing away from, I don't want to just try and sell this guy something he doesn't need. Of course not. We don't have to swing over to, he and I are going to be BFFs. We're never going to have a real conversation either. What we really want is the doctor who's like, I'm here to help. I know what I'm doing. We have a process. Fill out the forms, the paperwork of the nurse, come into this little room. We're going to weigh you. And then you go to another little room. You wait here. And you like, if you go through the process and then we're going to take some tests and I'm going to tell you what to do. And that'll be that. So I would probably reframe from being charismatic and being liked and having fun to really understanding people's problem and helping them solve it. And you'll give yourself permission not to sell or not to be wildly charismatic. And even if you're not well spoken, if you just ask questions and listen, like, really tell me about that. What made you say that? How does that make you feel? When you run into that, how often is it affecting your other relationships? Oh my gosh, how long have you been dealing with this? If you don't get this solved, what do you think will happen? What did you try to do solve it that didn't work so we can make sure we get a real solution? And at the beginning, hey, if we're a fit, if we're not a fit, can I tell you? And maybe I'll try and point you some other direction that's the best fit for you. And if you're not a fit for us, will you tell me? And like just really a consultative, I'm here to help. And if once you're crystal clear on their problem and they're crystal clear on their problem, and you know that you're the best person in the world to solve it for them, now you can advocate hard to help them, not because you're pressuring them or trying to hurt them, but you know you can help and you want to help. So I would probably shift the frame from charismatic, fun, liked to competent and helpful and able to solve problems. And when you go, how do I get that? That sounds even harder than the fun. I hate to say it, it's just practice. And you can practice in front of the clients, which is typically exclusive what we do, or you can practice not in front of the clients. And the way that we recommend doing that is in teams of 3, a buyer, a seller, and an observer. Everybody does each, and you just go round and round. That's how you practice, not in front of clients. So when you get into clients, you've done it before. So the answer is change the frame. You only get better and comfortable by practice. Or maybe there's some smarter guy that can tell you a different way to get more comfortable. I don't know it, but you don't have to practice in front of the clients. You can practice without the clients.
Nice.
All right,
I
Lindsay,
love it.
now you did such a good job earlier with the follow-up question. We are expecting for every answer I give, you have a genius follow-up question, or we'll just judge you.
No, judge away. I just really liked your reframe of that because I didn't expect, well, knowing the doctor frame, I should have seen that coming, but I was like, well, he's charismatic and fun. Like this will be easy for him. So I like that. That was very nuanced.
Lindsay's been on the team for a couple of years, so I'm really coaching her. If I can get her to go, I haven't heard that before. She doesn't even own a cleaning company. I'm just insane. I'm like, all right, then I'm giving some good stuff. She's like, speech 32A, heard it before. It's a good one, but whatever.
That's what I'm going to start doing. I'm going to start numbering your different speeches.
Yes. And then for my good clients, I don't have to work so much. I can just be like, 13B, go get them. Come back if you have any questions.
Oh boy.
Hey Clean Nation, Mike Campion here. One of my least favorite things about these podcasts are we found that people love the show and they love the information, but when I talk to you guys in person, stuff doesn't get done. People love the podcast, but they don't take any action. If you'd like to actually implement this and get this done in your world, we have a whole team of people that do exactly that. If you go to growmycleaningcompany.com/talk, you can book a time with either myself personally or one of our teammates to at least help you come up with a plan to actually implement and change your life. So if you want to go from getting these good ideas in your head to getting in your life, just book a free call with myself or my team, growmycleaningcompany.com/talk. And we can go from this one-to-many format to one-to-one and really get you some results. Excited to talk.
All right. So we're going to move on to Manuel. He emailed in and a little background again. I love it when people give context. He says, I feel stuck on marketing, really also feeling kind of burnt out and not so motivated. He's wondering, here's his question, if he should start marketing in different neighborhoods and if that would help his situation.
All right. So that's a lot of information, but not enough specifics. So I'm sorry, Manuel, I'm going to do the best I can with a very limited information. So I'm here, because really, I hate to say it because, I'm more the tactical guy, but I heard a lot of things. I'm like, we got to get to the bottom of that before we get to the marketing. So what I heard you say is I feel stuck on marketing. That's fine. Let's start with that. I would break it down into the data, not the drama. The biggest mistake people make is I feel X about marketing. And it could be a hiring ad. It could be local service ads. It could be a lot of things. I feel a certain way. My favorite example, I forgot her name. I wish I remember. Sorry, girl. I want to give you credit. It was her market. And again, hiring funnel is marketing, right? We're trying to get employees. And she was like, my hiring funnel is a mess. I need help. So she's a client. We jump on. And Lindsay has heard this one. So she's like, I'm going to number this one. If you don't recognize it yet, you will. And we went on and I started with, well, how many employees did you want to hire? At the beginning of the month, how many did you need? She's like 4. And I think we're about the 20th or 21st. And I said, great. How many have you hired? She's like 3. I'm like, we're 3/4 of the month in. You needed 4, but at the end, you're on track. Like literally her drama was telling her hiring funnel was a mess because I think she had somebody quit or whatever, but she'd only wanted three people or 4 people. 3/4 of the way through, she'd hired 3. I'm like, girlfriend, you're right on track. So literally the data said, don't do anything. Right. So a lot of the times the marketing isn't always like, don't do anything, but we always, for some reason, when we're on the hiring thing, everyone thinks it's a hiring ad. And sometimes it is, but our clients, we give them a good hiring ad that's worked for a decade for thousands of hires. So it ain't the ad. But I think it's the ad and we look at the numbers and it's super clear as to what it is, but there's just an emotional response of this isn't working. So when I hear, I feel stuck on marketing, I would really encourage you, for all of you guys, not just Manuel, if you're not tracking, don't market. That is really dangerous on money to just be like, I'm putting money out there and you're like, I track. Like, great. Exactly how many leads did you get from that lead source? Well, about 10. About how exactly I want a list of a tick mark, a number that only goes through it, that has a report, like actual tracking, not just I pay attention. It feels like about 10. Not any of the feeling, like an actual number, period, definitive. It is a fact in the world. You need to know it. So if you're not tracking, don't market. So to get unstuck, get the data, then follow the data. Okay. Kind of burnt out is almost always that. Burnt out is typically I'm working too hard, not getting any results. Because if we're not working hard, we don't get burnt out. If we're working hard, but we're getting the result that we want, we typically don't get burnt out. So again, not getting the results is I'm not getting the sales, but you don't have the data to really back it up. So I'm going to go back to the data on the burnt out. So that said, hit me with a question. And again, burnt out, not motivated, again, is just, I'm trying the marketing, it's not working. But I would like, what would be super helpful, Manuel, is if you're like, I spent $316 on LSAs in the month of May. We got 16 leads, only 2 of those turned into bids and none of them turned into sales. Okay. And the 2 bids were $350 and $450 each for a total of 800. Sorry, someone got my throat. That's something I can give super specific data with, but getting burnt out on marketing is like, well, if I saw your data, we probably know why, we can fix it. But without data, it's tough. Okay, so that's the answer to the background. What was the question again, Lindsay?
He wants to know if he should start marketing in different neighborhoods.
Okay. So if you didn't like that answer, you're going to hate this one. I have no idea. I literally would need data because again, well, I don't know how much have you spent on what marketing platform, how many leads, bid, sales did it generate? With that kind of information, we'd have something, but I can give you a good guess, a very educated guess. If it's the wrong neighborhood, it's the wrong neighborhood, right? So if you're residential, which I don't know if he is, I'm assuming it's residential because mostly commercial is going to be not, they wouldn't call it a neighborhood, they'd call it an area. So we're going to assume you're a residential, Manuel. If they're affluent, large homes, you're in the right neighborhood. It ain't the neighborhood, right? Like if you're in a trailer park or condos or low income where they're like, hey, you charge $400 a month average to clean and their rent's $1,200. Well, yeah, that's not a good fit. If you're in $1 million home or even a $800,000 home, or, it's just different. And we like larger square footage because larger typically, not always, means kids and being married and pets and things that take time and make messes. So if you're in a good neighborhood, check again. We just need data. And then again, it's just like I said with the email earlier, like, okay, what's the call to action, right? Like, what's the offer? What's the call to action? What's the messaging? It's probably in that. And people want to switch neighborhoods because it's easy. But what you probably need is to revamp your marketing offer, all that good stuff. But that's just my educated guess, Manuel. I need more details to give you a definitive stance that I could stand behind.
Okay, so I'm going to number that data, not drama. That's going to be like speech number 1000. That's what we'll.
Oh my God. I didn't even know I had 1,000 in me. It's all right.
It was just easy to remember.
Must be a good one. Yeah, we got to make sure if we're going to use the 1,000 number. It's got to be a pretty good one.
It's got to be a good one. I think that's worthy. Got it. Okay, so we're going to move on. We got time for one more. It's Amika. I'm sorry if I'm butchering your name. She emailed in. I'm assuming it's a she. Sorry if it's a he. They emailed in. And basically, I'm going to rephrase their question because it was really long and we were limited on time. But basically, right now, they are subcontracting commercial jobs. And they're basically working for free. Like, they're not making much money on it. So, Mike, how would you guide someone from being a commercial subcontractor to being their own commercial cleaning business?
Amika, you win the gosh darn question of the day. That's really, really good. And again, just a big disclaimer. I'm not knocking the Janny Kings, the Inagos, the Jana Pros. Like, there's just a lot of franchises out there. I'm not knocking those guys. That said, we've been doing this for a decade and we coach to a 30% net profit without doing any cleaning at all. So if you're doing $1 million, you'd make $300,000 in profit, obviously without cleaning. The problem with all the franchises is they take 25, 30, sometimes 35%. So there really is no margin. Like, basically, if you charge $100 in labor, we want you to, or $100 in revenue, we want the labor to be $40, $45. And then you have another, or actually we teach 45% goes to labor, 25% goes to expenses, insurance, marketing, things like that. And then 30% goes to you. But if you have that breakdown, but they take 20% off or 25%, well, there's no extra money. So that, as opposed to getting $100 and 45 goes to labor and 25 goes to overhead and 30 goes to profit. If you have to do the exact same amount of work, but you only get $70, well, there's no money left over, right? So Here's why I would and would not recommend a franchise. I would not recommend a franchise if you want to be a business owner. And I should mean a franchise, a commercial cleaning franchise under the terms I've just said, where they get the contracts for you. They make you pay for the contracts up front, and then they give or take 30% of the revenue off the top. That definition of a franchise. I owned a Service Master franchise, very different. You pay a large fee up front. They take like 6%. Same on the residential. They take a smaller percent, and they give you a bunch of leads and systems of price. It's a different kettle of fish. I'm talking about franchise where they take 30%. They give you the contract. They get paid. They give you like 70%, give or take. If you're like, hey, I could work for someone else making $18 an hour, but I'd rather do this thing for myself and make $21.50. If that's what you want, you're like, I want to clean. I just want to make a little more money and have a little more control. That might be a good deal. But if like, no, I don't want to clean. I want to have a business. I can't recommend doing that at all. So the answer to the question is, what do I do if I'm in that? I'm just going to consider it like you have a job. Like when clients come to us and like, hey, I work for X. Can you help me with my cleaning company? We can. And then we help them build the cleaning company up till they're making enough money. They can quit their job and go full time. So I would just say you're working for whatever your franchisee is. They're going to get, like, well, they only take 30%. I get 70%. You're like, but yeah, if the profit is 30%, they take all the profit and you get all the expenses. There's no profit left over. So no offense, you're working for them, man. So I would really just look at it as I don't have a business. I have a job. And again, yes, you could hire someone to do that job, but it'd be like me working at Walmart for $13 an hour and paying a guy $12.50 and be like, I've got a business. It's like, well, not really. Cause what if that guy doesn't show up and blah, blah. There's not enough margin to make it work. So I would just say, I hate to say it because it stings, but the reality is I'm just starting my commercial cleaning company from scratch. I'm going to go get my own accounts and I'm going to do it just like I was starting from scratch. And as opposed to having a job for Boeing, I'm working for whatever I've got this cleaning job. That's really how I look at it. That's how we do look at it. We do help people get out of that, but it's such a tough business model. If someone wants to become a client, like, hey, I've got this janitorial franchise and I want you to help me grow it and I'll pay your fee. We don't even take them as clients because it's not fair. We can't help them. Like the model is just set up for them not to succeed. So you have to have a model that can work. So I hate to say it's kind of a downer if I saw these questions ahead of time, like I might have put that one first and ended on something different. I feel like we're kind of bringing them down, but let me expand that out to those of you guys and gals that aren't in a franchise to make that work for everybody. The first thing we do with our clients is make sure that they got that 30% profit. We start their foundation, whether it's a franchise or not. So for everybody, the thing with a franchise is you can't really fiddle with the pricing, right? They just give you a wholesale price. And the way they get the job, by the way, is by being the cheapest. So not only are you only getting 70%, you're getting 70% of a job that's probably 80% of what it should be. So it really stings. And at least you're not going to get paid till after they get paid, which it's just, there's so many things wrong with it. But for everybody, it's the same. So whether you have a franchise or work for yourself, if your pricing is not structured where you can take margin, right? Where your labor's half or a little better than half, you don't really have a business, right? So even if yourself, if you're like, hey, if I hired someone, it would cost me 80% of the money I get for labor. You don't have a business, you have a job. So the concept is the same, whether you're working for a franchise or you've got your own gig. The ability to set the pricing right is foundationally important. If you can't get that right, don't scale a business. Be like, well, I'm not making any money now, but I'll make it up in volume. It's just not the case.
Ooh, that was a heavy one, Mike.
I know. I'm blaming the chick who put that question last. You have to know.
Gotta fire her.
Hold on, there's one more question. My dog just died and my business is bankrupt. What do I do?
Sorry, Cleaning Nation. I'll make sure we end on a higher note next time. That's
when in doubt, blame the sweet host that does all the work. That's my motto.
That's all I got, Mike.
All right, Cleaning Nation, thanks for hanging with us. If you have any questions, shoot us. Well, first of all, if you want to be on the show, email support@growmycleaningcompany.com. Lindsay gets those with a question. Jump into the chat or hit us in Facebook and say, hey, I've got a question. And if you need help, you want anything from me directly, I'm just Mike at growmycleaningcompany.com. We've got over 1,000 podcasts. Check them out. Tons of help. Enjoy.
Hey, Cleaning Nation, if you dug the content you just got, we don't do any ads and I don't sell anything on this podcast, but if you would just subscribe, rate, and review, it would be huge and I'd be so appreciative. Not only is it going to help me, but you'll help other owners of cleaning companies across the world work less, make more, and get profitable. So if you appreciate the value we give, again, subscribe, rate, and review. It would mean the world to me. I'd really appreciate it. And we sure appreciate your time and attention.